What's up, guys? I am live in Japan once again, part 2 of my Japan experience with your host, the Ginger Experience. But today I'm in a place called Kobe or Kobe. I'm not exactly sure how you say it, but I'm just guessing at this moment in time. But more specifically, like where I am in Kobe, this bit behind me is called Nunobiki Pond, which, well, for me, that's definitely not a pond, that's more a lake. So I'm just going to say Nunobiki Lake. But it's just amazing, you know. Just looking at that behind me is just incredible. You know, and like in front of me over there, like is the city itself of Kobe. So it's actually not really that far away from the city. So I think if like you were traveling here and like you wanted to like see the city life as well as like the sort of the country life as well, like, you know, more the outdoors and kind of see more nature and everything, then I think so far for me, like this is like probably a good place to go. And I've only been here for like, I'm maybe going about like 2 hours now, maybe 2.5. I'm not like staying here for the night, like I'm still living in Osaka this week, so I'm just gonna like take the train like sort of in the evening time back to my hotel. But this is pretty close like to Osaka, so if you're in that area, then you know it's definitely a good place to go. I think down from here as well, which I'm going to go, is the Nunobiki Notaki waterfall even, sorry. I just came from there and it's also very, very nice. Just all around this place, like the scenery is like fantastic. Definitely a different setting compared to Osaka, and same with Tokyo. Although there is like places there where you can go to like sort of shrine or park or temple, and you can sort of kind of be away from like the city life within the city itself, which is not so bad. But somewhere like this, like it's much better. But what I'm gonna do is we're gonna take a walk, because I want to head back into the city now, because, well, I'm starting to get hungry for lunch and I think it's nearly 1 o'clock, so that probably make the most sense to head back and get some food, because I only have a bag of rice crackers in my backpack with a bottle of water, so it's not very ideal long term. But I was really wanting to like try and make different videos while I'm here in Japan, you know, as well as like making stuff when I go home, because like I said in my previous video, like I have like recorded like lots of material like already, like on my phone, like what I'm doing now. Like this is just all through my phone, but I have like a massive like storage for memory card built into the phone as well, so whoop, that was not planned. Yeah, but I'm trying to record and like walk down a steep like path. It's probably not a good idea to like do both at the same time, but I'll pay more attention from now on. That's a reality check in the head. But like I was saying, like I've recorded a lot of stuff along the way here. A lot of that I'll be making future videos like when I'm back home in Scotland. But I thought I wanted to just, like I say, make some videos while I'm here on different subjects while I do like a walk and talk. And for this one, I'm just getting the lighting sorted out. For this one, I kind of wanted to talk about the culture and the people of Japan. So for this, like with the culture, if I was to compare it to where I'm from, which is a city called Aberdeen in Scotland, I would definitely say it's more like diverse, like compared to Scotland. And I think when I say that, like I mean in terms of like there's lots of Buddhist temples and things like that. There's definitely a more of like a spiritual side, I think, to this country. Not so much religious, but more spiritual. Sure, you have like churches and stuff like that, like over where I'm from, but that is just purely for like a religion base itself. But you know, I think part of my trip here has sort of been kind of like a a nature spiritual experience, and also just like a general like learning experience as well. But I certainly find that in the spiritual sense, you know, when I go to places like this, it's very tranquil, very relaxing, and sometimes I used to have problems with stress and just not being able to cope with certain things in my life when I should have, you know. I should have like kind of made more of an effort to kind of like handle it better. But places like this just really help calm my mind. This could be very loud because I'm at a waterfall at the moment, so there could be lots and lots of noise. But there is really like such a difference in that respect, and I really, really like it. I mean, there is like castles and things like that as well where I'm from in Scotland, but things like this as well, it's just incredible. It really, really is. You know, it's also for people that watch this in other parts of the world, you know, they probably have things like this everywhere, you know, but for me, where I'm from, you know, there's like a beach, there's different castles and stuff, and a few hills you can climb and whatever, but, you know, I kind of feel as if like I've almost done everything within Scotland, you know, so to do something like this is a total like life changer for me, and it's just fantastic, you know, it really, really is. There's another waterfall like as we continue further ahead as well while I'm recording this, and I really need to watch when I'm walking because you know I'm going to end up like hurting myself. So yeah, I kind of talked about the culture side, the I guess the scenery and things like that, so I kind of want to talk about people of Japan as well. Yeah, I'm going the right way. And one thing I like to say about people of Japan is that they're quite generous. Like they're very helpful. If you go, for example, like into a store or like a shop, they really like, as I'm kind of quoting other people that I've sort of like heard repeat the same thing. You know, they really do go above and beyond, like trying to help you. And they'll bow in front of you as you're walking into the store, and they greet you properly, and it doesn't feel artificial. Whereas I think in the UK, where you have some people that are like that, they literally just stand there like a statue. They're forced to say it because it's part of their job, you know, and you can tell they don't like it, but they have to say it. But I just get the sense it's not like that so much with like people over here that work in those kind of stores, you know, like as in like clothes retail stores, like, or restaurants, or even like a convenience store or something, you know, which is fantastic. But you know, the thing is as well is that all these things are different, all the elements could be different. I mean, they see over here that people are on a better living wage, you know, like compared to other countries, so, you know, arigato. So I think maybe as well, like, you know, that maybe reflects like a person's general happiness. You know, if people are on a better living wage here compared to maybe likes of my country where, you know, there's a set minimum wage and people are always complaining that it should always be more, and I think in other ways as well that there'll be people in certain jobs, they always think that the job that they do, like you know, the money that you get from it is never justified enough. I mean, at the end of the day, we always want more money, you know, because if that was the case then we'd all be stinking rich, you know. But they seem to be kind of be happy within the job that they're in, you know, and I think that kind of comes across when, you know, customers go into the store and yeah, they're there to basically not serve you but just to help you out the best that you can. And even as well, like with the language like barrier, you know, there's other ways they can kind of work around it. And if you, I guess at your side, you know, if you have tried to at least learn a few basic phrases, you know, of Japanese, or even if like you've got like the technology side like with you, so if you can go onto your phone and I don't know, like go on, for example, like Google Translate, type out the sentence you want to say from English to Japanese and you're able to pronounce it correctly, reading it out, then even that itself can kind of help, you know, and they'll acknowledge that and they'll do their best to help you. And I think that's one thing I like about the people here. And because obviously the last video that I'd done, like I was more within the Tokyo area because I think I was in, I think Kamakura or Nikko, it was one of the two. I found being over at this side of Japan, that people are more open to speak to you here, especially in Osaka. I think it was, I had a day where I was basically spent a good few hours at Osaka Castle, and it was really hot that day, and I pretty much had to, like, you know, walk in the shadows all the time to try and avoid getting, like, you know, sunburnt, because obviously I've got pale skin and ginger hair and they just don't mix well with like hot temperatures in the sun. When I was like sitting down taking a break, you know, like a few Japanese people came up to speak to me, like in English, and there was one guy in particular, I think he must have, I would think he's probably maybe in his 60s or 70s, but I guess at the same time with Japanese people here is that they could look a certain age, but they probably are actually maybe older than they look, so in that sense they're kind of, they seem to be blessed for their looks, you know, and I find that quite a lot here. And I think for some people in other countries, I think they'd probably be quite jealous of that. I mean, for example, like I'm 27 years old, you know, I have like shaved my beard off a few times, and like people are like, oh, you look much younger, you're like 21 or something, you know, and that's quite nice. You know, I wouldn't mind being 21 again. But then there'll be people that are watching this older than me, and they'll be like, well, you've still got your whole life ahead of you, you're still young, so what are you complaining about? But anyway, that's besides the point. So yes, I had like people kind of stopping to talk to me and like trying to have a conversation with me in English, because I think also as well they just kind of want to practice, I think, the English that they know. And it's funny because I've seen some people that obviously have lived in Japan for a long time that, and they're a foreigner, like they're a gaijin, and some like it, some don't. I would probably say that the ones that don't like it is because maybe they get spoken to a lot in English, and maybe they're trying to like get somewhere in a hurry and they're quite busy, you know, they don't have a lot of like spare time in their hands, you know, and maybe then they probably find it quite annoying if like someone tries to speak to them in English, you know. And I can see their point in that, because at the end of the day, if we're running late, someone tries to stop you when you're trying to do something, then yeah, that'll be a pain in the backside. But then at the same time, for the positive aspect of it, which I would like to sort of look more like towards that on, I would see it as a positive, just because, you know, there's someone Japanese that can know, well, that knows English, you know. So if you're not great at Japanese, but they're better at English than you are at Japanese, then you've got a chance to actually speak to someone that actually lives here and interact with them. And I think that is very important. So that's cool. But this guy, one guy in particular, because I think I went off track again, he was like in his 60s or 70s or something, and the funny thing was that he told me that he had never actually went to school and he actually taught himself English. I didn't actually ask him how he done that, but he says that he can't really read or write it, so unless you like used to know someone like many years ago that like I taught him like one-on-one, and like that's how he learned. But he was actually really good, you know, and you know, I just thought that was like fantastic, you know, and it was great to have a good conversation with him. I think we were like chatting for about half an hour actually, just about random things. I mean, obviously when you have like two different foreigners speaking to each other, you know, you'll get your usual questions like, you know, for example, with being maybe Scottish, like, oh, do you always wear kilts, or do you drink whiskey, all that sort of stuff. But you know what, I kind of find it funny in like a positive way, not like in a mean way, you know, because they're just showing an interest in where you're from, and I think that is never a bad thing. I mean, on the other side of the coin, you know, I would be like to that person, or do you always have sushi, or do you always drink sake? But you know, I know enough to know that's not actually true for a lot of people, because, you know, whenever I've like tried to maybe, for example, like back home, like ask someone like if they want to maybe go like and have some like Japanese food for like lunch or dinner, they always assume it's just sushi and it's raw fish. But if you have any knowledge at all, then you actually know that it's more than just raw fish here. Trust me on that one. But anyway, I always like to go off track sometimes. I seem to have that relation with like certain comedians where they do that, where they start a story like maybe 50 minutes ago and like go away from it, and then they come back right at the end to actually say the punchline. But yeah, I spoke to this guy and he just really had some like really interesting things to say, and it was actually really, really nice. Just because where I was, I was pretty much like every day like traveling by myself, and especially if you're in a place where like English is not the native language, you can feel a bit alone. So it was kind of great to like talk to someone, even if they're a complete stranger. And it's just a good moment to kind of like chill out as well. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that. I think actually one more thing I'll bring up is the food of Japan. And one thing I like about Japan is just when I mentioned it earlier on, for people that are not very aware, it's more than sushi here. Like there's more to eat than just sushi. There's like ramen, for example, and then there's also like, for example, like where I'm in Osaka right now. Staying in Osaka for each day. They have this like speciality food called takoyaki, which I think is just kind of like flour-based substance where they kind of like fry it and like they put like octopus and stuff in it, which is like quite nice. Konnichiwa. I need to watch for walking down these steps because they're not the most like secure on your feet. But there's so much food on offer, and like even the types of ramen, for example, are like all different. You could have like beef ramen, you could have like pork ramen, you could have like chicken ramen. There's also like katsu. Like the other day I had like an udon noodle chicken katsu curry soup, and that was fantastic as well. But it was quite hot, so my nose was like running like crazy, and I had to like use lots of napkins and stuff, and because I'm not really strong when it comes to like spicy food. So, but the flavors is just like, to just put it simply, it's like a big orgasm in your mouth, is what it's like. And for me, like one thing I've loved about my trip so far here is just like being able to like taste all the different kinds of food. And I tell you, I like the variety here because there's so much of it. Compared to Scotland, there's so much more you can try. And I tell you actually as well, I would actually like to try and like cook some of it myself. I don't know if I'll be able to like get lessons before I leave here, but I'm sure I could like get a few cookbooks or like find someone on YouTube to kind of like sort of use for instructions or something. But the food here is great. The best thing about doing stuff like this is if the more open-minded you are and the more independent you are, I think the more things become available to you. So if you kind of have that like mindset and attitude, then you would just love it here. But anyway, I hope I've gave some useful information, at least a little bit about the culture and the people here and just sort of what they're like. Because that's the thing, depending on which parts of Japan you go, the people and how they react to you and how they speak to you are a little bit different. And like I said earlier, if you're over in Osaka, I think they're more open to talk to you here compared to Tokyo, which is quite interesting. And also a random thing just to throw in is when you're going up and down an escalator, if you're not in a hurry to get up the escalator, then you'd stand at the right hand side and then people will go past you on the left. Whereas it's in the reverse order over in Tokyo, where you stand at the left if you're not in a hurry, and then people rush past you on the right. And when I first got to Osaka this week, like I completely forgot that, so people were kind of like trying to get past me, and I was just getting in the way. So That's maybe one thing that you should all know if you're ever going to like travel here from Tokyo to Osaka. Oh, you know what? Actually, there's one more thing that I could throw in, because I think, well, I'm actually like on 20 minutes now, but I think it's actually quite important. So the last thing I want to talk about is using transport here. So most of my time here I've spent like traveling has been like via train or like subway trains or like metro trains, but I bought a JR rail pass before I came here, and it's available for tourists that want to, I think, visit Japan for up to 3 months, and you can use any like a Japanese rail train service. I think it includes one boat service to an island and also some buses, which I think maybe connect like from airports and stuff like to the city, and depending on where you're going. But I've so far just mainly used like the JR trains, and in between I have had to use like other companies like metro trains or connections in between. And one thing I actually forgot to do was, well, when I got given the pass, there was like a terms and conditions like section inside this little kind of pass that you get that you can read. And what I'd actually like done when I was heading from Tokyo to Osaka, I was basically on a train, like a Shinkansen train, that was not covered by the JR Rail Pass. And if I'd actually read the terms and conditions, it would have like told me that, and I'd have to like pay the full fare like for that train. And it wasn't until the conductor on the train pointed it out to me, like on like my pass, like saying that like I shouldn't be on this train. But I actually thought at first that he was trying to tell me that like I was on the wrong train and I was like going in the wrong direction, like to where I was going, because the guy didn't really know like any English at all, and also with me having lack of Japanese, like there was just that bit of a barrier, so I had to try and work around it. But I think when he saw that I looked worried and I was like panicking and stuff, like he just kind of went, it's okay, like you know, I'll let you off this time. And he was just like, oh, just get off at the next stop and then switch from there, which ended up being in Kyoto. And then from there I was able to get like a JR train to Osaka. So, you know, I did kind of get a bit of a freebie, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, it was by mistake. You know, it wasn't intentional. And I think when people see that here, you know, when it's an honest mistake, you know, they'll usually let you off. You know, they're very nice about that. You know, I'm not trying to put a downer like on my own like country, but I would wonder if like, you know, these conductors and like ticket people, you know, on like Scottish trains, like they would probably just make you pay the full fare and not give a crap. So, you know, I'm very, very grateful for that, because, you know, I'm trying to stay within a budget, like on my holiday here. So I would have had to have, I think in the end, like forked out like 8,000 yen or something for the trip. So yeah, I saved myself 8,000 yen, which is fantastic. So that's something I think you guys should bear in mind if you're going to get the JR Rail Pass and you're going to use it for long trips that require maybe a Shinkansen from one side of Japan to the next. Check that it covers your pass, the one that you're going on, because mine's did not. But yeah, I think that will do, because what time, well, what's the time that I've got in here? It's nearly 24 minutes, I think. So if you've managed to get this far and you've enjoyed it, you thought it was helpful, then thanks very much. If you want to leave any comments, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, then that's cool as well. And yeah, I'll just end it by saying you have watched this video by The Ginger Experience, and yeah, ciao for now.